When setting up for your evacuation, you should always try to achieve full flow. Full flow refers to the optimal, non-restricted flow path of molecules being removed from a system. To achieve full flow, start by removing all controllable restrictions, including valve cores and system access ports, and any core depressors from your vacuum hoses. These restrictions act as plugs and can reduce flow to as little as 0.2 CFM. Once they are removed, you will allow unrestricted flow of molecules. Along with removing restrictions, use a manifoldless setup when available to reduce leak points and potential restrictions. Manifolds, although commonly used, have many leak points along with inherently unreliable performance in deep vacuums and are prone to turbulent restrictive flow, which we will expand on in a moment. When wanting to increase the number of hoses in your setup, using a single machined fitting to increase the number of connections to the system is the most reliable option. However, not all fittings are created equal. Like manifolds, T-fittings fall victim to turbulent flow. This creates flow paths that are directly in opposition to each other. With a Y-fitting, the flow paths are able to merge together seamlessly without creating turbulence or flow restriction. Along with merging flow paths, a Y-fitting maximizes the number of large diameter vacuum hoses able to connect to your vacuum pump. When it comes to hose size, large diameter hoses are crucial to achieving full flow. Let's dive in to see what's happening to the air molecules in different diameter hoses. As you can see, there is more friction in the 1/4-inch hose due to the decreased diameter. The decreased diameter causes the molecules to come in contact with the inner hose walls more often. The 1/2-inch hose has more space for air molecules to flow freely without having to come in contact with the inner wall or other molecules. When we look at the molecules in the 1/4-inch hose, we can see that the molecules are crowded and are colliding with each other much more frequently, causing them to slow their travel or even change direction. Although it's impossible to remove all the friction from a full flow setup, even with 1/2-inch hoses, reducing the number of friction points and increasing the space available for the molecules to flow is the best path to fast evacuation. Here is a direct comparison of 3 different sized hoses commonly used by technicians. Now that we understand the better points of full flow setups, there is only one way left to increase your speeds during the setup stage of an evacuation. At a certain point, attaching more hoses to your pump isn't going to net the same speed increases due to diminishing returns. When working on large systems, this becomes more apparent. By deploying multiple vacuum pumps, you can overcome these diminishing returns. On the other hand, not all systems require multiple pumps or a lot of hoses. When evacuating smaller residential systems, it's a common thought to use a one-hose setup, which isn't necessarily wrong, but in terms of full flow, it isn't the most effective setup. We will now go over 2 different setups to show how they differ. When running a single hose setup, you are only able to pull a vacuum from one side of the system. This will take a significantly longer time due to the length of the line set some molecules have to travel, assuming that there is no damage to the system components. If the metering device is electronically controlled or damaged, there is a risk that the valve will shut, completely cutting off a large portion of the system. A 2-hose setup is more effective than a single hose setup. This setup allows you to pull a deep vacuum from both sides of the system, making the evacuation quicker along with better assurance that you've fully evacuated the whole system, even with a blockage from internal components. If you insist on using a single hose setup, always attach your vacuum gauge to the opposite side of the system to ensure an accurate micron level reading. With your full flow setup ready to go, naturally you will want to begin the evacuation. In the next video, we will review how to diagnose a successful evacuation.